Those are good? Right. Okay. Hopefully that's doing what it needs to do. No, we'll find out tomorrow. All right. Thanks everyone for coming. Welcome to 2023. Happy New Year. For those who haven't been in a while, I'm Scott Gerlinger, the president of the Woods Corner Civic League, for at least tonight.
Wishful thinking on your part, pal.
I did omit on the agenda here the elections, the board elections we have to have at the end, so we'll make sure to put that at the end of the meeting. I'm gonna try to get through some things quick here because we've got several speakers that need to go to other civic leagues in the city that aren't as important as ours, but they do have to hear stuff.
Here you go.
So, let me see real quick. Is there anyone brand new that wants to say hello, introduce themselves? Go for it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Davis. My wife, Maddie, and I, we just recently moved in the community off of Maycox as of December the 9th of this year. So this is a first for me. I just want to come and be a part of this community and see how we can contribute now to be here.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna go with the dogs.
Yeah,
and watch my
Go for it.
My name's Sam Cook. I moved to, I'm on North Shore myself. Moved back in August, so curious to see what you guys talk about. I'm interested. I moved out to Norfolk originally 2 years ago and I enjoy the community involvement.
All right.
I'll hold you back.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'm visiting. My name is John Sitka.
Okay.
Been in this community, I guess, since '79.
Okay. All right. Well,
Who are you visiting?
welcome back.
Huh?
Who are you visiting?
I'm just visiting here.
Sounds like a spy.
It's fine. Yeah,
That's
North
fine.
Civic League.
Not hard.
I don't
All right.
always make the meetings, but I'm Earl Jennings and I live on over in the foot there where Rose Gardens. So anyways, I've been a member here since 1980. So I've been off and on. I come in and make sure everybody's
There you go. This is internal affairs checking on us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. We'll start it off with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, officer, you're first on the quick agenda.
Since I didn't see you folks in December, I went back to your last meeting in November. So if there's more stats than you're used to, that's 2 months worth. But they stand as such: 7600 block Granby Street, you had a larceny other. An individual got on the bus with his wallet. When he got off the bus, he noticed his wallet was missing. 7300 Newport Avenue, you had a larceny attempt. 2 individuals attempted to steal tools at a work site. 7300 Newport Avenue.
It's like right here. Okay.
Yeah. 7600 block Granby Street. You have a larceny other. It's up by headlights. Victim unfortunately was intoxicated, misplaced his firearm, and was unable to locate it at the end of the evening. Reported it stolen.
Great.
All right. 5 larceny parts from auto, 4 of which were Cadillac converters. 1 was motor vehicle tags. Those occurred at 7800 block of Westmere, 7600 block Granby, 400 Timothy, 300 North Shore, and 400 block of Harrington Court.
This is over a 2-month period?
This is over 2 months.
Okay.
Yep. You had 14 larceny from autos. Okay. 3 of which occurred at 500 block of Birmingham Avenue. 2 occurred at 7600 Granby Street. Then it goes into 7600 block of Bondale Avenue, 77 and 7800 block of Doris Drive, 7600 block of Sherrill Drive, 7600 block of Victory Drive, 7400 block of Ruthven, 7700 Favor, and 500 block of Butterworth. I'll leave this with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I'm just getting the number. I mean, when you say auto larcenies, you're talking about break-ins into cars, right?
yeah, the
Right.
break-ins into the cars for the larceny.
Are we getting any of
Are we catching any of the people?
them? Yeah,
We have caught some, yes.
red-handed, huh?
Yep, we've caught Cadillac converter thefts. We've had a couple of those. East Little Creek Road was the last one I heard of in the second precinct. We had 3 stolen autos, one of which was a trailer. One was a vehicle, the keys were left inside, and one, the window was removed, laying on the ground, and the vehicle was taken. 7300 block Newport Avenue, you had a larceny from the building. The victim came into the building, noticed items were missing. Wasn't sure how they gained entry or who took them. 7300 block Newport Avenue again, commercial to a burglary. Individuals gained entry, attacked the safe inside the building. It's still under investigation.
It's all good.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to give out specific addresses. so I have
We
to
know
give
what this is, yeah.
Yeah, 100 block Birmingham Avenue, you had a robbery home invasion attempt. Victim came home, was unloading groceries into her apartment. Suspect pushed his way in behind her, brandished a firearm, and demanded sex from the victim. Victim was able to contact 911, at which point the suspect fled through the bathroom window. That one's under investigation as well. 100 block West Little Creek Road, you had a robbery to a business. Individual brandished a firearm, subsequently stole U.S. currency and some gum. That's also. Wow. It says the gum part. So it would look like the larceny from autos are up. The only additional information I have is the precinct started a 24-hour detail car. So the car will be manned 24/7 by 1 to 2 officers in hot spots in the red sector, the blue sector, and green sector. So every so often my lieutenant will go in, see where the hot spots are, and they'll be detailed to that. So every 15 minutes, the car will go from one hot spot to the next, and rotate around. And it's gonna be manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's determined by what? By just his history,
But by the crime stats,
historical, okay.
Right.
Will it be a marked car or unmarked
a
car?
marked car.
And what is the, I guess, stats look for new hires?
For new hires,
Yeah, or for overall
Yeah,
force?
that I would have to ask Will Pickering at the chief's office. I know we just had, I believe, 12 graduated, the majority of which came to the second precinct. And then there's a whole nother academy already running. We started that early. I believe there's about 20, 25 in there. And then they're already doing pre-hires for the next academy.
Because I feel like I've seen a lot more police around lately, just in general, so.
With it, yeah, for whatever reason, I'm happy for it. The second precinct got more of the new officers than the first precinct. So they're coming in and it looks like they're sticking around. And then we'll have the new set come out. They started early November. So, by summertime, we'll get hopefully about at least 20 more for the summertime.
Parked there.
And is there anything wrong with the vehicle or just?
This car down here on the corner, and I didn't want the guy to get in trouble, so I asked the neighbor who it belonged to. And the boy said it's my car. I don't have a battery. I'm waiting to get a battery. It's been there for 2 weeks.
If it's inoperable, it's only supposed to be out
It's
there
just
for
sitting
48 hours. So where is it? Do you want me to?
It's on the corner of North Shore and
the Prius,
sitting right there.
Prius?
It's been sitting there forever. But somebody else asked me today to bring it up. I
are the
wasn't-
tags legal?
I thought maybe it
I
might be
think so.
stolen, but
I think so.
the tags.
The stolen cars go by our house, so you just
Yeah.
keep that moving.
There's another vehicle that's been sitting there for months, and that's behind that laundromat over there. Got a window busted out of it, right or left rear, and the tires are flat. And
All right.
I reported it one morning when I was driving by, but nothing seemed to happen.
So what we did was a lot of the on-street abandoned autos and nuisance vehicles have gone over to code enforcement. They have a couple new hires, and they have more time in the winter to attack the abandoned autos and things. I can still do it. It's just they're handling it. They're assigning it to themselves. But I'm more than happy to go out and tag some. I do it in other places too. So I'll hit up that area and I'll see what I can tag. And if they don't move it, then I'll just end up towing it.
Nothing has really taken place but speeders. There's nothing to say you won't hit 50 miles an hour going past Granby with the yellow flashing light. I don't remember the last time I saw a policeman stop somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe they do. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think you said that last time I saw you.
Yeah, same old
He
story.
did.
Every
Yeah.
2 months,
Like a bad pen.
I would like
I
to
wondered.
see
I was
some
like, he looks
cameras.
familiar.
I would like to see some cameras, but I didn't have the stubble
I
back.
saw somebody Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Pulled over, going over the.
Oh, no, cameras.
To the library.
Well, I don't know. If you're getting ticketed for
We're getting
$500 going
two
through that
two
intersection.
cameras in. They're going to start out in the school zones.
Well, here's what I found.
Oh, we
One of the
are.
other officers was telling me that some of these areas, they were putting down the marker cords. And what they were doing is finding the amount of traffic and how fast they were going. I understand in the new recruits we're coming up with, that they're taking them and putting into traffic. So when they find these areas that are really in violation of speeds, then they can start moving some of them into there so we have more people dealing with traffic issues.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing with the newer officers. I would have to ask. That's part of our PTO program, so those guys would know. I could talk to them and see what their plans are. But as far as that goes, it's mainly me for our traffic division will cover like the main thoroughfares like Granby Street. They do write tickets. I can get you the numbers if I need to. But the shorter streets in the neighborhoods, that's left to your community resource officers and patrol. So right now I have a lot of spots, but I will try and come out and hit Granby or Thole. Sometimes I like doing Little Creek personally because there's been a lot of auto fatalities, so I like to hit Little Creek. But I'll get out there. I'll see what I can do.
Well, I'd like to see you.
All right, Linda, what you got?
You mentioned the school zones. My experience, I see people slow down at Granby Elementary out here and Granby High, but as soon as they get past Granby High, and I'm going 25 because Collegiate's coming right up. Seems like they ignore Collegiate. I see a lot of people ignore that light. But Granby, I see them slow down and then zoom right past Collegiate. And the light's blinking yellow.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Real quick, that nuisance car.
Mhm.
Not nuisance, the detail car.
Mhm.
That's all 3 shifts, 24 hours, every 15 minutes. You got,
It's
do we
good.
have a hotspot near us here? Or what?
I'll get up with them.
Confidential.
It was over off Tidewater for the red,
Right,
because that's where the majority of the stolen autos were.
right, okay.
But if it may shift, I can find out.
Okay, just wondering if,
Yeah, he hasn't
it's
checked.
kind of a good news, bad news thing, you know?
Yeah,
It's
well,
like, we don't have a hotspot. Okay, good, but kind of would like to
right.
see a presence every now and then, that's all.
No, I got you. I understand. I'll see what I can do. Persuade them.
We had a fatality down there near the fall where they hit the trees over there.
Oh,
Yeah, I believe it was a medical emergency. He had a medical condition.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, officer. We appreciate it, all you do for us, and if we can help in any way. Let us know.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Wanna
night.
leave that?
Well, I wrote my notes out.
Well, if you don't, no, just go ahead. Come here.
I'll send it to you. I'll send
We're good. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Let me have Rick Dempsey with the Department of Utilities come up, talk to us about sewers real quick.
I'll be quick. We sent a survey bulletin out about a year ago or so. I know I've been here for the last 10, 11, 12 years, haven't been here in a while. This is the last kind of major water sewer project, kind of multi-phase project that's planned as of now. And it's, we're gonna do water and sewer upgrades from the wellness center, where the entrance is going south. And then really hitting, that's really what's all it's considering a new, Ward's Corner Civic League. And then we're, gonna replace all the water and sewer in the apartment complex and condos in between Granby Street and Newport Avenue, further south. So there's actually some like undersized water mains that are gonna get upgraded to, which is gonna help fire protection as well. That's good. We're gonna get a sewer line through the creek that we're gonna replace where it's not gonna go through the creek. We're also, I know there was a sewer problem over here that we're adding to this project already. So we already have our consultant working on that during the design, and we're bidding out right now. So we're gonna, and we got a plan to replace don't have a sewer line through the creek as well and just come around the side, and it's deep enough where we can just connect right here. So we're kind of gonna fix that problem.
In other words, North Shore.
Yeah,
Right.
In other words, what's going on on North Shore.
yeah, so all that, well, it's not gonna go that way. We're just gonna come probably around the back of the building.
Okay.
Just tie in over here. So
So-
that's gonna avoid a sewer problem through the creek as well.
So you're just gonna tie into the new pump
Correct.
station. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. All right.
So you're gonna coordinate that with the construction that may be going on here so that we don't have to move the sewer line again?
Well, no, the
That's another
construction
thing.
here is
Totally different.
That's
Further
years
out.
away.
You
We want
guys
this
know.
done now.
yeah.
So we're gonna be starting at the earliest in April, probably April, May. Newport Avenue, it could take 3 to 6 months. The whole project's a year and a half, but it's not all just Newport Avenue. I'm talking mainly like the apartments. So it could take about 3 to 6 months just to get off of Newport Avenue. As of right now, we have it scheduled to just have 1 lane northbound and 1 lane southbound while they're still working. So not all Newport is closed because it's about 20 feet deep sewer that we have to run from here all the way to the next street, which is Warren. So, you know, we have that in our bid as well. We should be bidding, we're gonna bid that out in February. Like I said, anticipate starting April. And I'm gonna be coming here a couple of times, give you guys some updates. And the whole thing is just get Newport done as quick as possible, do the sewer on one side, water, get that paved, and then they can start working in the other areas further along, because Newport's the first part of the
What
project.
cross streets are we talking about when you say between Newport and
Warren Street.
Warren? Okay.
Yeah, so it's gonna be Warren and Harvard Street, Ralph Street, Remsen, and Marcy. So Warren's the main, Warren and Harvard, like the main cross streets. It's really Warren's the only one that can go from Newport to.
Mhm.
You can keep Newport closed as long as you want.
Well, no, that's what he's saying.
It's not
They're
gonna
not
be
gonna
closed.
close Newport. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna remain.
It'll be inconvenient.
It'll be
still.
inconvenient for people.
And access to the wellness center is gonna remain at all times. There might be for a couple weeks when they're starting from where the pump station is. I could maybe be 1 way in, 1 way out. They'll have flaggers, but they have to maintain access to this building for everybody to come in.
So for Warren's,
Usually they either do the water one time or the
Yeah.
sewer, so, yeah.
what about the pump station up here at the end of Granby and North Shore?
Yep,
What's the
that-
situation
What's
with
the
that?
status? Yep, that's a
Yeah.
doozy. It's been about 6, 7, 8 years
Yeah.
going, and as of now, that has got changed about 2 months ago. HRSD was supposed to take ownership of that and start designing. It got back to us because of other items that with management over there. So our plan is to design that again, and well, we didn't even get a big design through it, but it's on the books again. It's probably not gonna start construction at the earliest, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years. So
Wow.
good thing is we already have the property right
Yeah.
next to it, so that sometimes takes a long time, but it's currently we have a scope and fee where that's getting designed right now.
Okay. I feel like that's what, 4 years overdue?
8 plus, yeah, it's
A while.
yeah.
Okay.
I would like to thank the lady if she's here, I don't know, but whoever picked up all the trash over there by that. You see her just about every week picking up trash.
Yeah.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
That's, oh, I know who that is. Yeah, there's quite a few people in the neighborhood that take time to do that.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Rick. We
For now,
appreciate it,
see
and
you
I
guys
guess
again.
we'll see you in a couple months, maybe.
Yep. Give you some updates.
For another update.
Yeah,
There
you
we
got
go.
it.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks. Did you guys arm wrestle? Did you sort it out? Okay. Hold the vice mayor card?
Yes.
There you go.
All right, good evening. Scott has earned himself an extra meeting because I've got 3 different civic leagues all scheduled at the same time tonight. So we're getting all the civic league presidents together and get all this scheduled out for the next year. But if you'll give me a few moments, I got a few things to talk about, and then I'm going to run the next civic league meeting following Officer Toth. The target, you saw it was in the newspaper. They are still negotiating. In case there's any press watching, I'm not going to say anything else. They're negotiating. Things I'm asking for in the budget next year, talk to the city manager. Looks like we're likely going to have funding to complete the purchases of the last properties in the Texas streets. And for those well over 10 years now, and there's a few last pieces of property there we're going to try to get a hold of. Had a concern that there was some negative activity occurring at the North Shore Park, and I reported that to Officer Toth. So he said he's going to do a few drive-bys there to try to curtail that. I've got the texting information here for the trains. Trains at Ward's Corner are still a problem, as you all know. We've been able to work out a system with the port. The security guy at the gate at the port now gives us information on when trains are going to cross Hampton Boulevard and Terminal Boulevard. And so we can push a text to your phone. Norfolk Southern will not share information about their trains. So that's why we're having to use security at the port. That's why we cannot get information on when trains are going to cross Ward's Corner. But what we have recently talked to the port about is they're adding to the message. If you're already getting the messages, they added about 3 weeks ago as to whether a train is inbound or outbound. So that way you can at least look at the message and say, all right, well, if it's inbound or outbound at Hampton Boulevard, you can estimate when it's going to hit Ward's Corner. So if you haven't signed up for it, I'll leave these here. You can take it. So you send a text on your phone and you'll start getting text messages every time.
It's the same one.
It's the same one. Same
Okay.
system we already have.
Right.
There you go. We'll task you with convincing them to do that.
Good
Yeah.
luck, right? The police, I'll tag on to what Officer Toth was saying. We are hiring more police officers. We're advertising in New York City in the subways. And in fact, I had someone send me a picture of a bus in Seattle with one of our ads on it as well. And the ads are successful according to the police department. Fitness and Wellness Center, I'll give you a quick update here. We have given Bon Secours a lengthy period of time to try to make a deal with the city. My last understanding from talking to the city manager's office is they've given them to the end of February to come to us with a deal, or we're going to move forward without them. So that has been the holdup for months now. So we're giving them to the end of February to decide whether they're going to participate financially in a new fitness and wellness center and be here, or whether we're going to build one without them. So, and then we hopefully can get the ball rolling after that. I do expect there to be money in next year's budget for construction to begin here in a new fitness and wellness center. So we need to get moving.
Okay.
Anything for me to take back to City Hall? I'm going to report the abandoned car behind the laundromat. Make sure it's cleaned up.
Yeah, I mean, we just have that situation where we called codes, but we have a vehicle on the corner of, what is it, Cedar Level and
They're gone.
Granby. Well, it's gone, but it's been leaking gas for months, and it's just gas spots all along the street. Yeah, it's not good. So codes knows, but I don't know.
I'm just wondering if they had something to do with them being gone.
Well, I'm sure it is because we
Okay.
called on that, but I mean, I don't know, like from an environmental standpoint, how that works. So it's just kind of
smell the gas.
Yeah,
coming
It's
off
in
the
the
street.
first block of Cedar Level.
Yeah, it's at the
So,
it's
it's
at
right-
201,
200
it's
block of,
right on the corner.
Early.
In between Burley and.
200
You
block
can't
of
miss
Early.
the spots on the ground.
So his house on the side, on the east side of that house.
All right, I'll see what we can do about that. Yes, ma'am.
2-3 years ago, I mentioned the parking problem, just the last block of Ruffin, just the last block in front of the trains. There's parking for about 2 vehicles allowed on that side of the street. And I'd like to see it removed, no parking at all on that block. Because what happens now, the trains are even longer. And if cars are parked there, the people queue up behind. Well, then when the train leaves, the people on terminal trying to come down Richmond can't it really does cause a block.
Cause a jam.
Basically right in front of your house.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
block.
yeah, well, they park across the street, in front of the woman who lives across the street.
Right.
And like I said, there's really only places for 2 cars to park.
Okay.
Because it's right now, no parking like the middle of the block to the corner. It's just, but it's a real problem when, once that train does leave.
I'll have transportation go out there and look at it.
And we said back then that they thought it was a good idea, the Civic League did, and we were going to do something about it. Then I think maybe COVID hit and all that, so.
Okay. Perfect.
Especially, have them look at it when a train is there.
Yeah.
You can't get down the
Which-
track because the cars are all waiting to go through.
Which
I've
is
seen
a
it, yeah. I know
lot.
what you're talking about. Because it gets tight right there.
Yeah, and it goes into, the next block. The traffic backs way up,
Mhm.
and then it curves around the parked cars. And then the people coming down Terminal, because they're queued up.
Yep.
And then here they come, and there's no place to go.
Okay.
Is that a done deal or are they still trying to work it out with counties?
You got a
about to say,
city
things
planning
are gonna
commissioner
go
here I'm going to
Oh,
defer to.
look.
He's going to come talk to you about that process.
You're great at segues, so.
I know.
Yes. Thank you,
Sandra.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
See ya. See you next time.
All right, go for it. We're just
All
keep
right,
cranking
well,
through it.
hello, everyone. As he said, I am Jeremy McGee, and I serve on the Norfolk City Planning Commission. How many of you know what Planning Commission is? All right, okay.
Sort of.
So, yeah, what I'm going to cover is just a little bit about me, sort of how I became part of the Planning Commission. I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown of the Planning Commission process, and then I'll talk about some of the hot button issues, short-term rentals, DePaul, a few other little odds and ends. That sound like an okay plan?
Sure.
Okay. So first, a bit about me. I grew up in South Carolina and moved to the Norfolk area in 2005. I started an internet company that I sold to a company here. And the plan was I was going to help integrate that company into a company in Norfolk for a year and then move back to South Carolina. And so 17 years later, I am here. I've fallen in love with the area first, and then I also fell in love with my wife. And this is very much home for me now. She's in South Carolina. No, just kidding. She's not in South Carolina. She's from here. So my path to getting involved in Planning Commission is my wife and I started a fine dining restaurant, went through the Architectural Review Board, eventually through Planning Commission, and I just became fascinated with the whole process. Also saw it as an opportunity to have input on important topics that affect our neighborhoods. Early days, I became a Civic League president after.
Bless you.
Yeah, I did a 2-year stint, thank God for term limits at my Civic League, and went on to be a part of the Architectural Review Board that reviews architectural projects across the city, the historic district, and others. And then eventually was appointed to Planning Commission by City Council. So I just offer that background. Some people think Planning Commission means I work for the city. Some days it feels like it, but they don't pay me. Actually, that's not true. They pay me a little bit, but my real day job is continuing to run the internet company that I mentioned earlier. But Planning Commission has become something that I'm quite passionate about. It gives us an opportunity to weigh in on a number of different topics. So any sort of change of zoning across the city. A big example of that would be DePaul. That's what's causing the review process is a request to change zoning. Conditional use permits, you've probably heard that name bounce around a couple of times. Conditional use permits are kind of exactly what they sound like. So it's a permit to do something in the city that has a whole bunch of conditions attached to it. So an example of that would be to serve alcohol. So anywhere in the city today, if you want to serve alcohol, you have to have a conditional use permit. That's a little bit of a change. Previously, up until about 3 months ago, if you wanted to serve alcohol but you closed at midnight, then you did not require a conditional use permit. But because of some of the issues on Granby Street and other places in the city, it's a bit more of a daunting process now. You have to go through and get the full conditional use permit. The other one that comes up a lot is short-term rentals. That's one that you have to get a conditional use permit for. I'll talk specifically about that. I don't think you guys have a ton of short-term rentals. I looked maybe a couple.
I think so.
You have any illegal short-term rentals? I joke, but that really is happening across the city. So I won't bore you with the whole process because it is a little bit more, just a high level. So anything that we work on starts with an application. That application is vetted by staff. They put together a staff report, analyze a whole bunch of different factors. And then we have 2 meetings a month plus a field trip. So the field trip, we're loading up in a city bus. We're going out to the properties. We're looking at the condition of the property. We're looking at the proximity to other properties, to other uses. Just trying to understand the things that you can't understand by looking at a picture or reading a report. It's a fun and important part of the process. Following that, we get a report and we have a meeting. It's called our mid-month meeting, where we walk through all of the applications. That's a televised meeting, should you find yourself so inclined. They're also recorded on YouTube. So if there's ever a project that you're really interested in, you can go back and hear the mid-month meeting on YouTube. Additionally, we have another meeting 2 weeks later in the month. That's where we get yet another presentation on the application, and we'll eventually have a public hearing where the public can come, provide feedback, weigh in on an application. For all of the conditional use applications, we generally, a requirement in the process is to engage the civic league and engage the neighborhood in some way. So either they have a meeting, either they come here and present, and then your views may not align perfectly with that of the rest of the civic league. You're still welcome to show up as part of the Planning Commission public hearing. Those are Thursdays, the second Thursdays of the month at 2 o'clock, held in City Hall chambers. We do have a couple of important ones coming up. So DePaul was originally scheduled for this coming Thursday, but it is now going to be continued to be later in February, most likely. And just to give you a couple of details on DePaul, you've probably seen prior presentations. The application that we're looking at right now is 488 units, approximately garage that would be constructed on the site. In addition to the parking garage, there are 9, they're calling them townhome-like units, but townhome-looking units that would be constructed.
I'm sorry, when you say 488 units, are we beds? Talking beds here or what?
No, those are actual units. So some will be 1 bedroom, some will be 2 bedroom. I think there might even be some 3 bedrooms.
Oh, this is to put the apartments that they want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you say DePaul, you're talking about the DePaul property.
DePaul, the whole complex there. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's.
And that is the area north of Kinsley, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's like 6 or 7 different parcels that make that up. That's correct. And then there's a medical building that faces Granby. There's the current plan has the first floor of that being commercial use. So they're saying a restaurant, potentially some other medical facility might be there. And I suspect that'll be a topic that Planning Commission is going to have a lot of thoughts on. We'll likely want to see that to be some sort of active use, something that the general public can engage in, like a restaurant. So
So I have a question. So there's how many units
488 is the current.
and how many proposed parking spots?
700 roughly. It's 1.3 parking spaces per unit. And we actually that's a good question. So we are the staff is currently doing a parking and traffic analysis. That is incomplete at this point, and we're waiting to see that. So that parking count may shift a little bit depending on the parking and traffic analysis. And so I think that's one of a handful of reasons why it's been continued, at least until February. And just a reminder on the process. So if we see it in February, we being Planning Commission, we'll make a vote. We'll make a recommendation to council, and then council will take it up in a couple of weeks after that. So at the earliest, you're probably looking at this would go before council sometime in March.
Who's the developer on that project?
Marathon, but again.
And I have a concern about the commercial space. I don't care about the space, I care about the parking. Because I know the city has, when you have commercial space, the coding requires you to have a certain number of parking spots dedicated to that space.
Correct.
When we saw the presentation, when was that? October, November?
November.
They were indicating that the parking would be shared with the residents. And that's a concern of mine.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I think that others have expressed that. I think part of what will drive that is what the commercial use ends up being. There's obviously certain commercial uses that are not as intense from a parking
Yeah,
perspective.
but a restaurant.
A restaurant would probably likely be more intense, but if that's coupled with, say, a medical facility.
And what her concern was, we had these same concerns. There's not enough parking. And so they're gonna start parking on the streets, just like these condos did.
Feeding into the
And
neighborhoods.
the parking lot over here, you know, and
I
any place that they can find a place to park.
Yeah.
But it's not feasible that a 3-bedroom apartment would have one car. It's
So-
not even feasible that a 1-bedroom apartment would have one car.
Hopefully not, but
You
you're
know?
right. We actually don't have a breakdown right now of how many 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom units. And so again, yet another reason why it's been continued, because you're right. If there's a large proportion of the unit pretty close.
And I heard a stat that the 1.3 parking is a national stat. That's not a locally designed statistic.
So in the projects that are similar to this, I've seen a range of 1 to 1.7. So some certainly do have more parking than this. And there's nothing that says it, although this is the current draft, it is definitely still a work in progress. So when we first were presented this, we are asking a bunch of questions. The staff didn't have answers to many or most of those questions, just because it is still a work in progress. But the parking thing we're looking at closely. We're also looking at the parking garage itself. So sometimes parking garages can be ugly. Big concrete structures that don't really fit in with the rest of the environment. So part of what we'll be looking at is how does it tie in architecturally to the rest of what's there? How does it tie in to the rest of the neighborhood? That's something that'll be.
Yeah, that could be overcome, but the surface parking is always a problem. You know, why not utilize all parking towers?
Yeah.
And that would eliminate part of their problem with not enough space for parking.
Yeah.
Because surface parking is ugly.
Yeah.
You know, you say parking garages
Talking
are.
about along Hampton Boulevard?
So that's on
To the west.
Grand,
No,
Grand
south here.
south of here, yeah. Where the old DePaul Hospital complex was, basically.
Yeah, because that was mainly doctors parking or whatever on that
Mhm.
Hampton Boulevard side.
Yeah, today I think there are some parking structures there. I'm not quite sure how those fit into the plan. There's a lot of surface parking though that most of that would be utilized, but that alone is just not enough.
Yeah, they were showing the parking structures in the back side of the property, but surface parking.
Yeah.
Where they plan to put the pool and the park.
The other amenities for the
Yeah,
parking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we haven't figured out how many parking spots are gonna be there and how many people are gonna be living in this space there. Has anybody been thinking about what this is gonna do to the traffic on Granby and the intersection there at Granby?
Yeah. So the city transit staff is in the process of doing what they call a traffic impact analysis. In order to get that right, they've got to know how many units they're building and the ratio of 1 and 2 and 3-bedroom units. We'll get that. That'll be one of the inputs into the planning commission process, and so we'll use that to help guide our recommendation to council.
And are they doing that study with the 2 lanes blocked out for the bicycles? So it's just going to be 2 lanes on Granby?
We'll make sure that that's considered as part of it.
So I have another question, and I don't know if this is part of the planning commission, but when you're looking at like the Watermark apartments and really the condos and townhomes that were built over there, there's so little green space left there.
Yeah.
And so little room for movement there. Is that in consideration when people bring these plans to the planning commission? Because I feel like that was just a huge fail.
Yeah.
You know, what they talked about and what was really done was just
Big disconnect.
hugely disappointing, I think. I mean,
So I can offer a couple of thoughts. So one, as I mentioned earlier, I also served on the architectural review board. I continue to serve on the architectural review board as the planning commission liaison. ARB very much looks at those issues. So ARB gets an opportunity to look at any large scale apartment building and looking at green space, looking at walkability, looking at the tree canopy. I had an ARB meeting today. We're looking at the actual plantings. It's interesting. I don't remember. I think that the project you're talking about predated my time on ARB, so I can't speak to actually that process, but I can tell you it is something that's looked at. It's something that I think is looked at with greater scrutiny and a higher attention to detail today than maybe it has been in the past. And same thing at Planning Commission, but we're not looking at it quite at the granular level that ARB is. So ARB is looking at, like I said, specific plantings, trees, those kinds of things. Planning is looking at it a bit more zoomed out at the macro level, but also very concerned about too much density, concerned about it being an enjoyable, walkable area. And it sounds like missed the mark on this one over here.
I don't know how people live back there, to be honest.
Just too much.
It's very tight.
So
Very
tight,
tight.
it's terrible. I mean, yeah. Yeah, it was worse than California.
And are they presenting anything with alternative energy?
I have not seen anything to that end at this point, but we're just also not at that level of detail yet. So a couple other quick ones, and then I'll get out of your hair. Short-term rentals, again, I don't think it's a big issue here. Those come through Planning Commission, particularly if it's the type of short-term rental where the person that owns the property is not going to be there. And so in some neighborhoods, they're very controversial. I suspect if and when they start to pop up here with increased frequency, it will be a hot topic for you all. I encourage you to engage in the process. So what I'm using as a planning commissioner to try to decide what's a good short-term rental from a bad short-term rental, it is in part driven by what do the neighbors directly associated with that property feel about it.
You mentioned illegal. In what way illegal? In other words,
So today, in most parts of the city, to operate a short-term rental where you're not there, it requires a conditional use permit. And so, particularly on some of the waterfront areas of the city, there are a lot of a good number of short-term rentals that are operating without a conditional use permit. And that's something that the city's working on, though. They've in this last budget cycle, they've brought on 7 or 8 new team members who are helping out with enforcement. Because part of the issue is that those illegal operators give short-term rentals generally kind of a bad rap.
Quick question. So, just so I have clarity, you're saying if I own or occupy the property and choose to short-term rental a room, let's say, I no longer need a conditional use permit?
It depends on exactly where the property is and how many bedrooms you have,
Sure.
but
And parking and things like that.
exactly, and parking. Yeah. But in many cases, a homestay would not require a conditional use permit.
And for a short-term rental that does require a conditional use permit, on average, what's the turnaround time on that?
I don't know that exactly. I could tell you it's not a fast process. It's probably, my guess is 30. I mean, it's a planning commission vote followed by a city council vote.
And you hear from the civic leagues. You also always hear from the civic league on the.
Do we always hear?
Would you ask for?
We don't technically ask. It is through reviewing it. So, did we get a letter? Did we get an email? Did we get something that suggests that the applicant did what they were supposed to and engaged?
We wouldn't necessarily know unless we were listening to your Thursday and caught it.
So there's 2 things. So so you know because so they could do a community meeting, in which case they have to put a sign out front. You've probably seen them, the big yellow sign, or they could do their own version of that. So that would be one way you know. The best way, I think, is to get a copy of the city's pending land use report. This is a report that's provided to city council at every city council meeting. I can follow up with the link to it. This will give you the earliest read on any type of project like that. So even listed there will be projects that don't have a complete application, that are just in the discussion phase. So I think if you're looking to kind of stay in tune with what's happening, I think that pending land use report, the city council, is probably your best early warning.
I just know of a couple that are coming any moment now.
Any moment now, yeah. And so in order to hit that report, they would have they would have at least had to have had a conversation with city staff. So if they've had a conversation with city staff, they'll likely make it onto that pending land use report.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll follow up with it. Okay. Other questions for me? I think so. We've touched on short-term rentals. Glad to hear that's not a super hot topic.
Paul project, short-term, what else?
The only other one that we work on is alcohol sales conditional use permits. Again, I don't think there's a whole lot happening close by here, but just know that when someone is looking to serve alcohol in the city, we're looking at the owner's history and track record. We're looking at any issues they've had, trying to make really good decisions about who we grant permits to. And again, as I said at the beginning, we are an advisory body to Planning Commission or to City Council. So we make a recommendation. Council then decides whether they. So a couple of.
Are you concerned with the Black Rifle coffee shop? Is that anything?
We have not seen anything. I don't think. What's the location of that?
What's
It
the old KFC?
looks like somebody's been working inside, that's why I wondered.
So we wouldn't see that unless they're going to serve alcohol, and if they are going to serve alcohol, it sometimes is a little bit further in the process. So I haven't seen anything on that.
They just opened their Virginia Beach like a couple weeks ago, so I think they're not ready.
And they're not selling alcohol, so I don't.
No, it's coffee.
Yeah, so it will likely never come through Planning Commission. Okay, any final questions? All right, well, thank you so much for the opportunity. So I'll be back if there are other items that come up that are sort of planning related. I'm happy to come back, and I'll send my contact info in a couple of these.
Will you be involved in this place?
When it gets to that point, Planning Commission will definitely be reviewing the plans as will the architectural review board. So yes, and that would be a great time to come back. Hopefully that's sooner rather than later.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm gonna make my way to the.
Let's say we'll send you off to the
Okay.
next city. Just follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, that's
right.
We ever get ahead of schedule, this is unusual.
Well, yeah, everyone, and unfortunately, I think Adele can hang around to give her update. Everyone needed to be out here by 7:15, I guess. To go to these other civic leagues, whoever these others are. So yeah, so I'll try to see if I can get an update from Adele after. The one question I had asked her that she was looking into was the schools right now put out their list of like different calendar options, of which 2 start before Labor Day and 2 start after Labor Day, and they're seeking input on those. It's all on their website right now. My question to her was if the options that start before Labor Day will allow the high school students to take their exams before the holiday break, and if it doesn't, if that's the vision, for the future, that we keep working towards that, so the high school students take exams and then go out for 2 weeks.
You're talking Labor Day or Memorial Day?
Labor Day, starting before Labor Day.
Okay.
Correct.
Survey closes at midnight tonight.
Close at midnight tonight. If you want to chime in, go do it. I won't tell you which one I voted for until tomorrow, though. I don't want to bias you. All right. Let me see. Aaron and I went to the neighborhood leadership breakfast on Saturday, which was nice. There was Jackie Glass moderated a panel of some different civic leaders in the city, and we also, probably the biggest thing, Aaron was real good at writing down a list as they're reading it out at the end about a whole bunch of different ideas that we can take back here and potentially consider, some of which are super simple. So unless you want to share those now. Or
Yeah, I do have them, sorry.
I saw you pull out your notes, I was like, let's go for it.
I took a lot of notes. Yeah, and some of the different civic leagues were doing a lot of different things. So, sorry, that was a different list. There was scholarships for high school seniors that civic leagues had headed up, food drives, school supply drives, open houses where they brought in different departments, gardens, senior check-ins, so checking on senior community members, festivals, picnics, which we do, driveway concerts, planting flowers around community signs and things like that, and crafts and bazaars were some of the ideas.
So we jot them down as things for people to ponder and
volunteer to help with.
yeah, right, exactly, and lead and
Yeah.
do. So let the collective brain juices start flowing on those there. Yeah, so it was a good session. Glad we could go do that. Let me see. I did want to give an update. I think probably everyone here who's been around the last month has seen, it's since stopped, but the grinding of the sidewalks. So the quick history, if I remember it right, from a while back, I don't know if it was, I think it was before the pandemic. The city in the past was working with contractors to replace all of the sidewalk blocks that were out of joint, which, if I remember right, at that time was like $1,000 per section, versus grinding down the corners like you've seen is like $100 a section. So the city's like, all right, we're gonna go with these guys and go do it. There were some concerns raised by one of our residents. I guess it was maybe, was it last week?
Yeah, it was last.
Was it last week? I've lost track of time. I think it was last week that the dust plume and cloud being caused by the contractors was potentially hazardous. To work around here, went back, checked with the contractor company, and everything does well. What I'm saying, all the policies and work that they scope out appears to be within. All the policies and work that they scope out appears to be within OSHA compliance, and everything should be safe. There is still a question if the subcontractor is actually following the policies of the contractor, the general contractor. So the city is following up on that. If you do, so they're supposed to be using vacuums. They're also supposed to be blocking off the sidewalk with cones or closing it otherwise. Neither of which I think was happening in this area. So if you see that, I don't know if they're just done and they've moved on or if they're going to come back here. Anyway, if you see giant dust plumes and sidewalks not properly like diverting people, please call it in. They are supposed to, it's not supposed to generate that level of dust.
There's another concern, the thickness of the sidewalk. We typically build them to the minimum thickness that they will withstand pressure. So as you grind them down, that thickness gets thinner.
Oh, yeah.
Freeze thaw cycles are going to cause them to crack and break, and even probably become even more of a hazard. So I don't know. I haven't seen any of the grindings. I don't know how much they're grinding, but an inch would be a lot.
I don't know.
I haven't seen that many.
Yeah. I don't think they're going that deep.
Yeah.
But some of these that I've seen, they're really unlevel.
Oh, no, there's some that are on level, but
the
the major ones they aren't doing.
Okay.
It's kind of the more
They're doing
minor.
like small ones as you.
Now, if we can stop the people from graffitiing all over them, that would be cool.
Yeah. One step at a time.
Yeah.
So that was the update on that. I did call our post office today and asked about the mailbox that used to be right out front of the wellness center here that was hit by a vehicle and then subsequently removed. I asked I said, oh, the one out front of the wellness center. Oh yeah, they got hit by a vehicle. I was like, right. Is it going to be replaced? They said, no, there's no plans to replace it right now. And I said, well, like if we wanted to be replaced, what would need to happen? They said, well, you need to call the post office. And I'm like, which is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, good luck with that.
We came full circle here.
What's the news on the post office?
I know about the post office itself.
You can't buy stamps anymore.
I don't know. They answer the phone. Yep.
That's it. They
I
don't
was
do
there
anything.
this morning
We're open.
to mail something, just a letter, and it was open. So I got in line, and there was a young man, military person, trying to buy a book of stamps. And after 15 minutes, and I don't think it was the lady's fault behind this. She just couldn't get the system to sell him the book of stamps.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's what the
Drove
problem has
to
been.
Ocean View and mailed me.
That's what the problem's been, is their system has been down.
Yeah.
And they're getting ready to move into a new system. So they're probably not wanting to put a lot of time and money into it since they're in trouble now and are raising the cost of stamps. But I don't know about these mailboxes that, they're cardboarding them up and taping them up in different parts of the city.
Yeah, I was
because-
gonna say, I saw a story on
Yeah.
TV where it's happening across the city. It's,
Right. So
they're getting rid of mailboxes.
anyway, I left the conversation at that, and just said, well, I'll come here tonight to just ask, I mean, is this an issue that we need to pursue or not? I guess is my question.
Good luck.
Are a lot of people using that mailbox?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too many people. Yeah, very late.
I don't know how many people live around here.
I just drive by the post.
You know,
office.
it's kind of funny. The one out here that was right on, I used to see, I walk my dogs up and down Newport, and I see people all the time used to be putting mail in there all the time. And I was, I always thought about that myself whenever I got a mail letter, which isn't often. I just stick it in my mailbox and the mail carrier takes it,
We are going back to real maps, like paper maps now.
But-
I saw that on the news today.
All you have to do is log in to the USPS and they will pick it up at your
Yeah.
house. You don't have to walk to the
Right.
mailbox.
Well,
Just let them know you have a
I know,
pickup and
but
put the
then
little
I
red
can
flag.
force my kids to have exercise.
Well, walk the dog, there's other things you can do.
I had to go all the way out to, out Little Creek Road to get stamps today. I
Yeah.
went over to 20th Street and they were sold out.
Walgreens sells
They were
stamps.
sold out of stamps.
Walgreens sells
And
stamps.
they're now they're 62 cents.
Say that again?
Stamps have gone up to 62 cents.
Right.
Oh,
But what I was saying is that
Free.
Walgreens sells them. Yeah.
And Harris Teeter.
Harris
And Harris
Teeter.
Teeter.
Harris
Yeah.
Teeter sells.
Well, here's what I can do. I can call and inquire as to what more details on what it would take. What is the process, right? Because that may determine if we want to press it.
But you can even order stamps online and they will deliver them right to your house.
That new post office, the box they put in front of the post office, you have to get out of your car to put the car, put the letter in.
I know.
Pardon? Is that
Right.
in?
Oh, wow.
And she said they did it on purpose so because they didn't want people running into it.
Oh,
That makes sense.
Okay.
Can't fix stupid.
Well,
That's
That's a
it.
busy
Yeah.
post office.
it is.
Yeah.
It's, I think, one of two that's open on Saturdays. Everybody's closed.
Oh, especially at Christmas. It's like there's so many military people that are shipping packages.
On a high note, I did go by our new Harris Teeter gas station. That was exciting. And they sell E85,
Yeah.
which is, I've never seen that sold here.
Yeah.
I know it's sold in other states pretty heavily, but
It doesn't, your mileage isn't as good with
I
it.
will not be putting it in my car personally, however.
Do they have a conditional use permit for alcohol?
I don't even know if they're selling, they probably are selling Rev to Go, I'm sure, out there, but I didn't go into the convenience store there.
Let me see. One other thing. We had chatted with one of the Titus Town civic leaders at this breakfast on Saturday, and we're probably going to be getting together at some point in the near future. And I know to talk about kind of joint concerns across the civic leagues. And I know one of the particular concerns that I know is going to come up is about the basically all the property along the railroad tracks, and I guess there's
Long terminal?
Yeah, long
Okay.
terminal, and who owns what and where the dividing line is, and anyways, so that I guess in their civic league, some people are being told that like the fence is not theirs, but anyway, whoever does own it won't fix it and things
The
like
rail company is
Yeah.
there.
So, I guess to say if you or people live along that section, please, let's say, keep an eye out for us looking for some input right here in the coming months.
Well, no, I call the city when the weeds get bad when you turn onto
Right.
onto Ruthven, the
Mhm.
sides there. just right past the tracks before you get to the drainage ditch.
Yeah.
Right.
The city takes care of those weeds and the weeds along the drainage ditch.
Okay.
But that's probably because it's city easement on the city street.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
You know, you have what, five
10,
feet?
10, I think 10
easement,
feet,
10
yeah.
feet easement.
Scott, when will we start this?
No, that's what I'm saying. This is a discussion just even to try to get someone, I think, to even respond about it. So yeah, no, this is initial, very, very, very early stage discussions just to try to get the conversation started with it's finding the right people and then getting the conversation started with.
I'd like to see those Jersey barriers removed. They put them up when they did all that construction, and now they just abandoned them in
Yep.
place there.
Yep.
Those are really ugly.
All right, so the last thing that left off the agenda, but we do need to cover is board elections.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so we did put together a slate of officers to vote on. You're certainly taking more nominations too if people want to chime in. But we did at least want to make sure there's at least someone to fill each slot. So for president, we have myself, and I will say this. I've been doing this a while, and I kind of got stuck in, backed into this role.
Wait, that was not-
No, it's not 2015. I think it was 2017.
2017.
Anyway, it's probably been about 5-6 years now, but I'm not worn out yet, and I probably won't be until this building is replaced, is what I would say. I would say this, I don't really necessarily care that much about being president, but I do want to stay on the board and see this rebuild through. That's been one of my pet peeves, I think, since I moved into the neighborhood
You know,
15 years ago.
I'm all for you taking the slot, but whatever happened to our term limits that were in the bylaws? Have the bylaws been rewritten? Because it was a
I
two-term
actually,
limit.
well, I asked that question when I came on, Linda. They don't exist anymore. I
Well,
was trying
I'll
to
see
put
if
them
I
in
can.
there.
When I was Civic League president, they existed, and I turned them into the city. And then Jim English took over, and then all of a sudden they disappeared. So I don't.
He was
I don't know.
president for like 20 years.
I'm in favor of reinstating them. I am.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any left anymore or not. But so we don't have any bylaws. That should
No.
be.
No,
There are
have-
bylaws.
Oh,
we
okay.
have-
Term limits aren't written in.
Oh, they're not written in.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we need to address the bylaws.
Yeah.
Maybe
Sure.
we need a
I will-
bylaw
I will
committee.
very much support you in
Typically,
raising
there's a
that.
bylaw committee.
Raising that issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Right. So the slate we had was myself as president, Aaron. I don't remember who was first or second or how we. But anyway, Aaron and Chris as Aaron's first vice president, Chris as the second vice president. Brenda is going to remain as the secretary. Gray as the treasurer. Susan is going to step in as the newsletter editor. And then
I think this job.
and then we've got Liz, Joan, and Dan Graves as the at-large board members. So I think everyone's sitting here except for Dan. And
Dan usually works,
If
yeah.
anybody would like to participate.
right. So again,
Please.
that is one slate. If there's anyone else who'd like to raise their hand and volunteer,
Don't be
we
shy.
can certainly make room.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would like to move that we accept the slate as
As
read.
Hold on, Linda. I'm gonna give it at least 10 seconds for people
Yeah.
to respond.
That's good you did that, because I was gonna nominate you
No
after that
hands
last
went
one.
out.
Really jump into it.
No hands went
Boy,
up.
maybe she wants to be president again.
No.
Linda, I wanted people to get a little uncomfortable, so someone raised their hand.
Yeah. There's a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
Linda was my first
Oh, I can't
president,
second.
and I joined
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
All right. All right. right, someone else has to second it.
Second.
All right, second. All right, any discussion, right?
We had it.
Well, if somebody wants
Well,
to.
Yeah.
Anybody here would like to be part of the Civic League board?
Raise your hand now, we will find a spot.
If you have any objections to the current board and would like to take a
You don't
position.
even have to have objections.
No, you don't. If you just want it.
Nope, all right, always next year.
You know, I do have a question before we vote. I saw something in the newsletter that they wanted someone on the north side. Are any of
I
these
do
people
agree
on
with
the
that.
north side?
We used to have somebody on
Dan,
the.
no, Dan.
Dan is, but he's an at-large member. We don't have any of the actual board
Yeah.
officers.
Oh, we had
Ray's
Ray, we had
Ray
Fred.
passed.
for a while.
Yeah, we did. We had Ray.
Fred.
Anybody on the other
Fred?
side who, I mean, I think that side should be represented.
Y'all live on the
You
other
know,
side?
Well, we need a
So-
recruitment.
So, correct.
Yeah.
Well,
Strategically,
I'll
we'd
tell
like
you,
to work.
I
on
don't
that.
mind volunteering unless it gets to be too much for me to handle because I am retired and, but I do babysit my babies. So.
Grandbabies.
They're my
Grandbabies.
babies.
You just bring him.
But to be at large to serve and represent the north side unless somebody objects. But before I couldn't meet during the day or anything because I was full-time employed.
Right.
So are we adding an at-large member or?
No, you didn't change bylaws.
Oh, well,
Okay.
then never mind. That's too much trouble. No.
No, she's like,
We can
no,
have
no,
up to
no.
three.
We have a motion on the floor that has been
No.
seconded.
You want out?
The discussion is over.
Well, but definitely, Linda, if you talk to neighbors over there, you know, anyone who's, I won't even say if they're interested. If you think you can get them interested, try
Bring 'em.
to encourage it, right?
Yeah, we have cookies.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And
Nobody even
But
wants to
I'd
be
rather-
in the minutes as opposing?
did anyone abstain?
It's unanimous.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. We will do our
Board is
best to
reelected.
serve you as best we can, and certainly there will be volunteer opportunities even outside of the board for you to jump in and help out. We've got some plans for different things coming up, and certainly some of the ideas Aaron shared, we're gonna try to see if we can.
And I would like to
Get the
say,
bill.
thank you for all the neighbors who are out there and picking up garbage, on the streets and making sure, things stay clean.
Yes, Jeff, thank you.
Highly appreciated. Jeff, Donna, there's quite a few people out there that do that. And,
Jim,
um,
you guys couldn't
Jim
even-
does,
You
yeah.
wouldn't be able to cross the tracks if it worked for my husband.
There
I'll
you
tell
go.
that.
Thank you, Jim.
You live where you have storm drains.
Yes, I mean, it's just,
Really?
it's just nice to keep everything, picked up.
I like to see water going down instead of coming out.
What you got, Jeff?
Later this year, I got one warning for those who walk dogs. The company that's putting in the fiber optic cable is dropping wire, very thin wire, and leaving it. So watch your dogs that they don't, get the claws poked by that wire.
Where did you see some? I know you guys cover a big area when you walk.
Yeah. Primarily on the other side of Newport. I think I've seen it on both sides. Wherever they.
On your side?
Wherever they're stringing wire.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
They've also been dropped, if you look for electrical
Not
tape,
much.
wads of electric tape, that's where they've been too.
I thought they were done.
No,
Well, there's
recent
more coming.
Dropping anywhere in our neighborhood.
No.
They still gotta do the hookups.
short lengths of wire.
Okay.
And also, don't forget, if you guys, see anything or there's something going on in the neighborhood, whether it's, sewer related or.
The city.
Yep.
For rain barrels and things like that, and the application is due March 1st. I don't know if that's something we would like to pursue.
Oh, I think Meredith, you would be an excellent.
Oh, tag, you're in.
I think that's what I was referring to on Facebook yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that would be a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Goes along with that, community garden aspect
Yep.
that we heard about the other day. And we
I got
actually
mine
have
from
a
Elizabeth
new-
River project.
We have a new community member who started the downtown Norfolk community garden, so I can get you some
Yeah,
assistance
and
on
also
that.
Donna here.
I was gonna say, someone gonna call her out? Go
Yeah,
for it.
I'll call out Donna. I mean, she's also a great resource for any plant activity. And also, I know we want to have you and Kay come do one of our outdoor functions, you know, come and set up and talk about and, you know.
Well, the Norfolk Master Gardeners are always
Mhm.
ready. We have an outreach, where if you go on our page, or call the office, we do make home visits to give you advice about what to plant and if you have problems. We don't bring any tools with us.
You're not weeding our garden.
You know, that would be a
Let me know
good,
what tools you need. I'll-
that would be a good presentation in March when people are preparing their gardens.
There you go. Go ahead and through the list. That's a good idea.
And Donna was responsible for keeping flowers in our planters this year.
Yeah.
What, on Granby?
We got some free plants, so we'll have to see what we can do going forward, but we did get some plants donated to us. We wanted to show.
Yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate. We have a really nice community and a lot of people who work hard to. Right.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks everyone for coming, and
Thank
we
you.
will see you in February.
With the shikers and with.
February
Glad you came?
27th.
Glad you came?
Oh, yeah.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
definitely,
We need a
definitely,
motion to
definitely.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's signs that are
All in favor?
strategically placed around.